Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I think we'll get started. Thanks for coming today. So we're here to go over a brief kind of presentation. First of all, congratulations for Accelerate Michigan. It's exciting. My name is Meredith Karikas. I'm the EIR at DC3. So we are the Detroit Creative Corridor Center. We're an economic development agency for the design and creative industries. And we've been asked to partner with Accelerate Michigan this year to help provide some design advice or services for improve your pitch decks and your presentations. In addition to that, we've also donated $25,000 in design services for the winner of Accelerate Michigan. Yeah. So should you win, you'll have access to that and to our pool of businesses through our business support firm called Creative Co. So I want to introduce you today to Nick Keebaugh.
Hello.
We're not designers, right? So we defer to all of our design companies, such as Nick at MammothReach, who is a principal and lead designer, and will be teaching us today some advice on how to design your killer pitch deck, as Nick says. So if you're joining online, you can feel free to join the Q&A section, and if you have any questions, just let us know. But thank you for coming.
Yeah. So like Meredith said, I'm Nick Keebaugh. I own a creative agency in Northville, of all places. We were in Detroit, migrated to Northville, and we've been working with DC3 for like 4 years now. Yeah. So it's been a good time. So yeah, so today, the goal of today is to really just kind of give you guys some practical tips in making your pitch deck effective and look good while being effective. So yeah, we're gonna just sort of jump in. Top thing today, basically there's gonna be 5 sort of key areas that I think if you guys stick with it, the first area is we like to start with is choosing a font. Choosing a font is really important. It promotes readability. It can set a tone to your presentation, and it really just allows you to look good. So, number 1 tip when choosing a font: just say no to Comic Sans. I know it seems simple, and it's really tempting because it's not so perfect. But in every aspect, just say no, and that's more attire. But realistically, another tip: script fonts. Script fonts are super hard to read, especially from far away. They kind of get sort of cluttered, and unless you're working with a designer specifically who has like certain headings and they've kind of like given sort of the okay, just in general stay away from them. It just again makes things kind of hard. Some really good fonts that we would say go ahead with: Helvetica, Open Sans, Arial, or Lotto. You can get a couple of these for free at google.com/fonts. And I mean, along with these fonts, there's a lot of other really good fonts to check out. So yeah, if you guys want to bookmark it, we'll also be, I'm sure we'll be links in the Q&A as well of this presentation. The next thing, when you're doing your presentation, limit the amount of fonts that you go with. Too many fonts can simply create confusion, and it makes things distracting, and it takes away from the points that you're trying to make. So we would say no more than 2 to 3 fonts, and it's really important to stick with fonts within the same font family. So for example, if you had Helvetica, you could do Helvetica Light or Helvetica Regular, and then maybe do like bold for some of the headings that you have you're working with. So stick with the font, same font family, and try not to do more than 2 or 3 variations on that. Next section, can you read me now? This is really going to be talking about sort of readability of your. It's going to address sort of making sure that when you're presenting, the people across the room are simply able to read your slideshow. I think we got a couple other people coming in. So again, if you guys are coming in, we do have some Q&A at the end. So if you guys have questions, just shoot them out at the end. This is more about readability. And the first tip is use contrasting colors. It makes it really hard to read if you try to stick with same color palettes. Like if you're using blue, don't go with the dark blue. You should probably use a white or a black font to really make it pop. Next one, stay away from graphic backgrounds. Obviously, none of you would ever use this background, but in general, it just makes things really hard to read. Text really has a hard time. And just in general, try to stick with like a nice solid, a simple texture, or like a nice gradient that isn't too contrasting. Like you wouldn't want to do a gradient that's going from like blue to green or vice versa. Next one, logo backgrounds. We see this all the time. People like to get their logo front and center. Don't use it as a background. If you want to get your logo on there, put it in the corner, away from all the other text. Obviously, we chose Pizza Hut because I love pizza. Not necessarily Pizza Hut, but you guys get the point. So yeah, so in general, stay away from noisy backgrounds. It again distracts. So best practices, white or black text on top of a nice solid background is always usually really effective. If you guys are wanting to look for maybe some color palette ideas, a good resource would be color.adobe.com. Again, the links will be in the Q&A of this presentation. Basically, that website has a lot of nice suggestions for just some different color palettes that you guys could go with. If one practical suggestion, if you guys are going through and maybe are struggling with, is this readable? One thing I'd like to recommend is simply taking your PowerPoint, printing it out in black and white. And if you are able to read the presentation in black and white, then you should be pretty good with the whole clarity issue. If it's a little hard to differentiate between some of the letters and stuff like that, I would recommend playing around with it and making sure that it's a little bit more readable. Good. Next section, size matters. This is going to sort of address selecting the right size of fonts. Obviously, you obviously don't want people to be squinting across the room to try to figure out what you're trying to say. Same thing, you don't want to be too large with things. Too large can be overwhelming, and if people have to shift their eye to read 2 words, it's probably going to be too large. Typically, there's probably a good spectrum. Are looking for like a practical number. 40 points and 150 points probably be range. You show your titles a little bit larger than to your text. So if you have some you want to know that your bullets are a little bit smaller. A good ratio would be probably like 60 points for the titles and maybe 40 points for some of those bullets. And it gives it just a nice balance to all that fun stuff. Just makes things readable. Again, how will I know? If you stand across the room and you're looking at your presentation on your laptop, your computer, and you can't read it, it's going to be too small. So you want to, again, sort of address all that fun stuff and just make things a little bit larger, a little bit readable, more readable, and you should be good. Animations. Animations are very tempting, but again, they tend to be distracting. And I'm going to go through all these because I think these animations are awesome. Fire, typically animations will distract from what I'm saying, and you guys are all focused on these crazy animations. So rule of thumb, don't use animations. Pretty simple. It's totally cool to do like simple, quick bullet points if you guys or to add more than one bullet on one slide. But just don't do anything crazy. You'll be good. The Great Wall of Text. Key point in building a text, you want to bring out your key points in simple. Like, if you go and hear about how hot and profitable pizza is, and you try to put your entire script on the keynote presentation, and they're going to zone out, and it's not going to be. It's not going to. Basically, we basically went ahead and made a bad example, and what we did is we wanted to do it and make a good example. So here it is. We took some key points from that keynote, and we basically plastered them on there in very simple, quick, easy to read, and easy to remember points. So yeah, our pizza's the best because we can customize the flavors. It only takes 10 minutes to cook, and there's 60% profit margin. So things investors like to hear. Images are effective. Images really can really set a tone and an aesthetic to your presentation, and it also can do more than words can. One tip: never use clip art. Always stay away from clip art. I don't even know if that's really a thing anymore, clip art, but using Windows 95 and there's a clip art section, stay away from it. Next one, stock images. Don't, please, for the love of all things good, stay away from stock images. They're typically really cheesy, and if for some reason you really want to use a stock image, please buy it. Don't pull it over with iStock watermarks on it. We've seen it too many times before, and it's really bad. It's not good. Next one, if you're going to use images, that's great. Try not to cram a bunch of images on a slideshow because it just distracts from the key. If you want to have a lot of different images, just simply space it out in your presentation. Do like one image per slide and kind of go to the next one, and allows focus on what you're trying to talk about. So images are good. Practical note: if you are using images, make sure it's high resolution. How do you know it's high resolution? If you drag your image into the presentation and it's really tiny and you have to scale it up, most likely it's low resolution. Rule of thumb: you don't ever want to scale up your images because they're low res, so try to find some other options. Nowadays, low resolution images aren't really an issue. If you're taking pictures with your cell phone, it's probably going to be high res, so not something you really have to worry about. But if you're trying to pull something off from the internet, you do still kind of run that risk of getting a low res image. I know it happens a lot with like logos and other random pictures that you might be pulling. Next one, maintain image proportions. Image proportioning is important because if you start messing around with it, then people look really fat or skinny or really long or wide. So you always want to stick with the proper image proportions. Again, I think most like PowerPoint and Keynote all kind of lock that in. You have to kind of go above and beyond to kind of mess with the image proportions, but don't try to skew things to get them to fit in a box, which leads us to our next point. Don't be afraid to crop parts of the image. Obviously, the focus of the image is typically the center or a little bit off center. So if you're cropping to try to fit inside if you're trying to crop inside like the entire frame, yeah, sorry, I don't know. Going brain dead. If you're trying to crop inside of a frame, don't be afraid to just simply scale it up and cut off part of the images, part of the image frame that is less important. It's going to look really nice, and it's going to take up the whole screen. So it's good. Next one, color. Color is important. Picking the right color is I would say probably one of the most important parts. You don't want to pick out colors that that clash with each other. You always want to pick out colors that complement each other. So obviously this would be a terrible example. Blue and red, very like, just stay away from that. Again, like when you're going and trying to find colors, try to stick with, keep it simple. Try to stick with like 3, maybe 4 colors that work. Don't try to draw unnecessary colors to draw attention to it. You want to do like a primary, maybe a background color, a foreground color, and then maybe some like a highlighting color. So there's 3, and then maybe just another sort of accent color for that. So yeah, 3 to 4 colors max. Never do what this looks like. So just don't use that as a rule of thumb. And then most importantly, be consistent with your color palette. Your color palette should not be from slide to slide. It should always be the same, because consistency is really key to good design. So to sort of recap, jumping into fonts, 2 to 3 fonts max. Stick with the same font family. You can't go wrong. Make sure they're readable and no Comic Sans. Readability, contrasting colors is really important. Try to stay away from background images. No logo backgrounds, and print it off in black and white to kind of check and see if your presentation is going to be readable. Size, can you read it from across the room? Use that as sort of like your guide to making sure that it's readable, and maintaining that 40 to 60 ratio between between font sizes, between your headings and your bullets. It's just a nice balance. Images, stay away from clip art, obviously. Try to use 1 image per slide. Maintain image proportions. Make sure your images are high resolution. And if you use stock images, make sure you pay for them. Typically they're not that much, maybe 25, 50 bucks for a good one. But, for the most part, just try to stick away from them. Color. Complementary colors are good. I did provide that link. Adobe or color.adobe.com is a great link to kind of get some ideas for color palettes. 3 to 4 colors maximum, and make sure that your colors are consistent for all your slides. I'm going to go through the resources once more. Again, color.adobe.com. There's a bunch of basically this is sort of like a user submitted guide. So I could go on there and just add my color palette. So I mean, not all of them are good. This is really meant to be more of like an inspiration to kind of see different colors together rather than practical. I obviously wouldn't want to pick my color theme in the top right over there because that looks really heinous. But it's just a good idea to kind of get some.
Barbie.
Unless you're Barbie, exactly.
On brand.
Yes, exactly. Next one, google.com/fonts. It's got a ton of free fonts on there. Most of them are pretty good. It's really rare that I run into one that's like, oh, that's really bad. Except for the scripty ones, there are a couple on there. So try to stay away from those. If you want to go more premium, if there's not something you like on there, you could check out Typekit. Typekit.com/fonts is a good resource. And more than likely, you guys all have Helvetica on your computers already, so Helvetica is always good. If you guys are looking for some sort of starting blocks for your pitch decks, there's a couple. I mean, a simple Google search can help you pull out some Keynote/PowerPoint presentation templates. One that I've been to and I've checked out is graphicriver.net. They have a lot of just starting block templates to kind of use as sort of like a base for it, and then you can kind of customize it, make it your own. Templates on this website run 20, 30 bucks. So nothing crazy. A website that I found, it's called Slide Carnival. Premium templates, and I think they're all free, so that's cool. They can spam you for the rest of eternity. Paid, pull a template. You know it's going to run you anywhere between 25 and 100. You could consult a designer. Consulting a designer is going to cost you between 100 and 500, or you could simply flat out hire a designer. It's going to be expect to pay probably more than 500 to do it. To do it well. So yeah, if you guys are not here, you guys can send questions via the QA board, and we'll be answering them. If you guys have any questions right now, I'm more than happy to take them, and we can go.
So how is Keynote converting back to PowerPoint?
Keynote.
Just repeat, sorry, because we're doing a webinar. Make sure you picked it up.
Oh, so again, the question was, how is Keynote converting to PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I'm just plugged in directly to Keynote has like its own presentation mode, so I'm just plugged in directly into this TV. If I was presenting from a projector, I would do the same thing. I would just plug in directly to.
Worry about it. Because multi-part question one is just how to get away from the standard PowerPoint. And I thought maybe switching to Keynote would be good, but I think for accelerated mission, we have to deliver it as a PowerPoint file. So I just want to make sure.
So it has to be a PowerPoint.
Issue, right,
I think there is. Yeah, no, I think there is an export feature within Keynote. You can simply take it, export it. Obviously, when you're taking you know, a PowerPoint or a Keynote presentation and converting it to PowerPoint, there might be some incompatibilities with some of the layouts and stuff like that. But for the most part, I mean, if you take it, you know, you build it in Keynote, export it to PowerPoint, and then kind of tweak it a little bit within PowerPoint, you should be good. So just make sure, I mean, I would never advise you to just like export the Keynote as PowerPoint and then not check out what the PowerPoint version looks like within PowerPoint.
It might make more sense though if you're not familiar, to look at some of these template options through Graphic River or Slides Carnival that allow you to purchase a template and then customize that template. PowerPoint template, correct. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, because you don't want to risk, especially in a competition like this, any kind of or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, version of it. Yeah. Any questions?
I have a follow-up question. Yeah. You know, a lot of these decks, certainly for typography, it's in your room, but a lot of you're building a deck to be shipped via email. You can look at it on the screen. Oftentimes, it replaces the business plan. It's going to read the deck and it's going to communicate your plan. So I'm always struggling with, you know, you can make it, you know, just have a lot of big images for the presentation, but you also want to represent.
Well, the different presentation, really, the different products altogether.
Maybe they're different products.
You shouldn't mix the two.
If anytime when we're designing a communication tool, it's always who is the audience, right? And what is the call to action? So I think they might be a little bit different whenever you're doing any kind of communication tool, marketing tool. Think about those two questions, right? Who is your intended audience, and then what is the call to action desired out?
So if you went from a many in a big room to I want to ship it to somebody and themselves, whatever it might be, they share with 5 or 10 people. What would you change? You know, say in terms of the presentation?
Sure. So you know, if you could provide notes in the notes section to kind of allow whoever's presenting at the day of to kind of add some notes. You could simply just add more slides. Again, you don't want to like cram a bunch of text on a slide. Just don't be afraid. I mean, this slideshow is 50 slides. I don't think we covered that much, but you know, don't be afraid to just keep adding slides. Obviously, you don't want to have like an obscene number, but just, you know, as long as your point, you know, all your, you know, your bullets and your points are on point, I think it'll be okay. Just so don't be afraid to just add some more slides in there.
What size font could you down to in that?
I wouldn't go any lower than like 40 point. And again, I think there's going to be maybe some conversion issues with, I'm saying 40 point and it's probably Keynote. I think if you were in PowerPoint, I wouldn't go any lower than like 22 pixels, maybe 18 if you're really pushing it, but 20 you have to also include a license, which cost money. So if you're using a free font, you can just send them the link. They can download it for free, and there's no licensing issues there. So I always like free fonts, but
one thing to keep in mind, if you're not using a standard font that's in your PowerPoint, when you're sending the PowerPoint deck to someone, you should PDF it, right?
Mhm.
Because if they don't have that font, it's going to come up as Arial and it won't be as formatted.
yeah, or simply include the download link for that font so that whoever's presenting can simply install it. Yeah, I mean, you always kind of run into those technical issues, which is why you should always kind of test it out on other devices to make sure that those issues don't come up. So, yeah. Any other questions?
Just the latest theories on colors that have some psychological, I really like this. Or
Yeah,
is it
no.
really going to help people, or that kind of perspective?
You know, it's kind of, I mean, I feel like it changes every so often. Right now,
When you see a lot of blue, right?
Blue is always
often the calming, the cool. You know, they say often that red is, you know, energizing and but it's a kind of simple, you know, you can not at all my expertise level here.
No, blues, I mean, greens were really popular like a year or so ago. It's kind of coming back to blue. Again, it's just sort of a matter of preference. Especially, I mean, if you're working with a designer, don't say, I want blue. I mean, allow them to kind of explore other colors, because sometimes it's important to have colors that stand out, especially if everyone else in here is doing a blue presentation, then everyone's kind of doing the same thing, and it's like blue. There's no color contrast. So, you know, again, it's kind of just personal preference. I would stay away from like super bright colors, like yellows or pinks or purples. I don't know. Just try to keep it neutral, but at the same time fresh. So yeah. Any other questions? Quiet.
Are you all creating your own PowerPoint presentations for the? How far are you along?
Silence. So really far. You guys are all done, I
It's in
assume.
2 weeks.
Oh,
right?
so refining. All right, awesome.
The script keeps changing.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate you guys coming out and learning, and everyone at home that is hearing us. So thanks a lot. Again, if you guys do have any questions, I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. My email is nick@mammothreach.com. You guys can email me there, and I'll be happy to respond. So cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Take care.